Okay, let's have a look at running of the C2F example program. This is your front panel and this is your block diagram. As you can see, this is the input for the degrees in Celsius, and this will be the output in degrees in Fahrenheit. And on the block diagram, these are the corresponding controls and indicators. So this corresponds to that, and so on. So to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, there's obviously a formula, and to do that you can look it up or just look on the web. Google, for example, look for temperature conversion calculator and select under here Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion, and you can see if you put a number in Celsius it gives you a number in Fahrenheit, and this is the formula. The formula is C times 9/5, which is 1.8, plus 32. And if you have a look on the actual block diagram here, you take a C number, you multiply it by 1.8, which is what that is. So it takes a number, multiplies it by a factor of 1.8, and then adds another 32 and displays it in the indicator. And that's how the conversion happens there. So if you run it once, it just takes value whatever that is and puts it on the output. If you press this button here, it says run continuous. In other words, it keeps running whatever's in here sort of non-stop, taking value of the input and putting it on the output by these converting factors here. So if I reduce the number to 6 and so on, this will keep changing to appropriate values. A good value, like you should know, is 0 degrees C is 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. And you can stop it by pressing the stop button in the program or the one in the block diagram here. Alright, so other than running once or continuous, you can put a while loop in the actual program under block diagram, structures, while loop, which you would have seen before, and you put all those controls and indicators in the while loop, and you create a stop button that you wire to the condition for the loop condition to stop here. So you can either put a stop button on the block diagram or just go to this input, right click on the block diagram and select create a control, and it creates a stop button for you. And as you can see, once you move the mouse over it, you can have it like a arrow, and then you should be able to move that and put it somewhere else on your front panel. So now I can press the run only once button, but it will keep running in this, take whatever's in this while loop and keep doing that till we press this stop button. So let's do that. So run, as you can see, it's continuously running. I can press 1, 2, 3 for the degrees Celsius, converts it to Fahrenheit. Okay, so let's stop, and it stops the program. So one extra feature you can do on here is you can, remember this is your input for degrees C, but you can also have another indicator that just reads this value that you're just putting in. So you can put another indicator like this one for the Fahrenheit to just read this value, the same value that you're putting in. So let's create that. You go on the numeric indicator and you put it there, and you can change the, as you can see, it's highlighted there, but you can change, if you click on it, you can change it to say degrees C, and now that appears on your block diagram, but it's not connected anywhere, right? So what you have to do is take the value of the input and wire it to the, take the value of the output of this control, which is that one there, to the input of the indicator here for C. So you basically wire that back to the output of that one there, as you can see. So now when I change this value here, that should be the same there, and convert it to Fahrenheit there. So let's do that, and as you can see, that's what it does. So that's mirror image of that, but it's conversion to Fahrenheit there. Okay, you've seen how the conversion works from Celsius to Fahrenheit, and with an extra indicator for Celsius there. Well, let's do a conversion from Kelvin to Celsius and then to Fahrenheit, because you already have the conversion from Celsius to Kelvin. You don't need to repeat this. Basically, you just need to take the value that's sort of coming out of here, if it's say Kelvin, and convert it to Celsius so you can display it on there, and then convert it to Fahrenheit. So basically what we're going to do is change this to like a Kelvin input, delete this wire, and subtract a number of the equivalent conversion factor to make it into Celsius, and then multiply it by 9 and 5 and add 32 to come out to Fahrenheit. To do that, if you go back to the temperature conversion calculator, you'll see if you select Kelvin to Celsius, all you've got to do is take a Kelvin number and subtract 273.15 to get the value in Celsius. Alright, so let's do that. So basically you break this wire here, and you just select it and go delete wire branch, and as you can see, these are already connected, and this becomes disjointed now, so we can relabel that one. Instead of degrees C, if you keep clicking on that label, you can change it to degrees K, and then you add like what these other formulas or functions are. You can add a mathematical function or numeric function of subtracting, and basically you select it and you put it on the block diagram, and you can see it already wants to make a connection to that. And the other number, the other input is the second one there, which you put in the value of 273 whatever 0.15. You go create constant, and that gives you the value that you type in there. And then you wire up this point to the output. So now this would be your Kelvin input, this would be your degrees in Celsius conversion, because this minus 273, you've got to change this to 273, and that would be displayed for Celsius there, and then this other conversion converts it to Fahrenheit, and it's all going to run in this while loop till you press the stop button. So do that, and you should see that running. Okay, let's look at a running version of the VI once you've made the corrections for the Kelvin to Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion. So I won't show you the block diagram because you should be able to do that. I'll show you the running of the actual VI, so you'll see how it sort of works. So if you press run, for example, if you type in 300 Kelvin, it will give you about 80 degrees in Fahrenheit, about 26 in Celsius. If you put that down to 0, enter, and it's it's correct, 273, and it's about 400 something Fahrenheit. Then if you press the stop button, it will stop the program. Okay, so let's stop the program. Now, one of the, like if you look at the part of the assignment, it says to not use these text boxes, but use something a bit more intuitive. For example, we can replace the input, instead of a text box, as a dial, and replace these indicators instead of text boxes again as sort of like a temperature type indicators. So to do that, all you got to do is right click on each one of these and go to an option that's called replace, and you go to a particular control set. that you want to replace it with. In this case, as you can see, there is a thermometer, so I can replace the text box with this control box. So now you can see it's changed that, and I can move it around when it's a pointer, and when it's got those little double dots, you can make it bigger or smaller, whatever it is. And at the same point, you can just go over the label and you can move it around so it doesn't interfere with the display, and you can put it somewhere else. Okay. Sometimes these are a little bit annoying to do, but that's how you handle them, and so on. You should be able to replace this the same way, and replace this one with the knob, which you get from here, and you get the knob and make it the same as what the suggested view should be. And I'll suggest something else after you've done that. So I'll leave it there for the time being. Okay, this is a running version of the partly completed Kelvin to Celsius to Fahrenheit conversion VI. And you can see all the controls here, and I'll run it through so you understand what is sort of going on. So let's just run it, and if I adjust the Kelvin input, you can see the values changing there, but nothing's happening on the degrees C or degrees Fahrenheit thermometers till about 270 degrees. Then you can see the Fahrenheit increasing and so on, and then as it goes up, both of them become red. So what is happening, in other words, the conversion is not correct on the indicators here, because these values are not being shown on the thermometer being correct. They're all stuck down the bottom here, or once you go over a certain value, they all get stuck up the top. So what you have to do is basically change these top on both the Celsius and Fahrenheit, and the bottom values, these become a lot more negative, like in hundreds of degrees or 400 degrees or so, and I don't know, a couple hundred degrees up here. You'll be able to work that out, what those ranges are. So then when you rotate this knob all the way around, that corresponds to all the values in Kelvin being indicated on both of these thermometers. Now the idea of this is a simulation of some sort of like an input. For example, you might have a data acquisition card and it's reading some thermometer type values, and you've got a display of that on your graph or this computer. And then it might be at some point that you come to a certain value, you want something else to happen. For example, it becomes an alarm, it becomes too hot or too cold or whatever, and then you can do some sort of action following that. So that's the beauty about all this sort of LabVIEW environment or programming type language, where it gives you a very nice, very quick control type inputs and indicators as outputs, and easily integrated with any data acquisition or instrument that you might use. Now, to do an equivalent in, for example, any of the other programming languages, it would take you a lot more time to do that, and a lot more intricate type programming to achieve the same sort of level of graphical menus and knobs and indicators, and with thousands of lines of code, and it's not as forgiving as what LabVIEW is. So once you've changed these values, that's all you need as far as the assignment, because you can have any range here, 0 to 300, 0 to 400, but basically what you have to do is make sure that this range of Kelvin that you're putting out is properly displayed over the range of the indicators that you got on the front.